Ukrainian troops continue to fight to retake territory and strengthen defense lines as harsh winter conditions set in. Officials reported Russia's use of heavy airstrikes in eastern Ukraine, as well as a shift to using smaller strike groups that opened heavy fire in a fierce struggle to capture the bombarded town of Avdiivka in the eastern Donetsk region. Russia has changed tactics by sending groups of up to 5 people to carry out attacks along with armored vehicles, air cover, and heavy fire bursts. Separately, a Ukrainian military spokesman said the number of clashes on the front lines had increased significantly, and losses in Russian personnel and equipment were increasing. Fighters of the ACHILLES company attacked the unmanned aerial systems of the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the Bakhmut direction, destroying 2 BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicles, the radio-electronic warfare station, Harpiya, and a Russian invader jeep. And the invaders' UAs broke down. This was announced on his Telegram channel by the commander of ACHILLES, Yuri Fedorenko, by publishing a related video edited from footage taken by an attack drone, which actually destroyed enemy equipment. Ukraine said its forces had repelled 32 enemy attacks on the town of Avdiivka, which is dominated by a sprawling coke factory. Russian troops had moved forward on the flanks to try to cut supply lines. Ukrainian military spokesman Oleksandr Stupin said Russian forces suffered heavy losses around the city. He told state television that Russian forces had dropped about 450 aerial bombs on the region and were bringing in reserves. The Russian Defense Ministry rarely mentions Avdiivka in its reports, but the Rybar war blog said on Friday that fighting was ongoing at the coke factory and near the village of Stepov north of the city. Rybar acknowledged that the front hasn't changed. Fighters of the Asgard group of the Ochi unit of the 120th Separate Reconnaissance Regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed or damaged 3 tanks of the Russian invaders, including the modern T-90 Breakthrough. This was announced by the Telegram channel Asgard FPB Force, publishing related videos edited, including from footage taken by kamikaze drones, which actually destroyed enemy equipment. Apart from tanks, Asgard's attack drones also hit at least 22 other invader equipment units. Russian forces have also increased the use of attack drones in the direction of Kreminsk. A blogger and fighter of the 24th Separate Assault Battalion, Aidar of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Stanislav Bunyatov, reported this on his Telegram channel, Sniper Speaks. In turn, Trikutnik's Telegram channel, which covers the fighting in the Kharkiv and Luhansk regions, today released a video in which fighters of the Azov Special Purpose Brigade of the Ukrainian National Guard stormed the positions of the invaders in the Kremen Forest. This clip was edited from footage taken with the action camera on the helmet of one of our defenders. At first, the fighters fired and advanced in the forest, and then in the enemy trenches. As Russia's war on Ukraine enters its 3rd year, the 2 countries' tanks are largely not fighting as tanks. Hunted by drones and artillery, surrounded by mines, Ukrainian and Russian tanks tend to stay a mile or 2 behind the front lines, pointing their main guns high and firing at targets their crews can't see, like a tough little howitzer. This does not happen in one main sector. Over the past 2 months, the Kremlin has deployed all existing regiments and brigades to Avdiivka. To make the Russians pay for every yard they advance, Ukraine has deployed tanks, and they fought as tanks, moving in close to the Russian assault groups to fire their cannons, while Russian missiles exploded all around them. Our defenders of the 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine captured a group of Russian invaders during an attack on enemy positions in the Melitopol direction. Fighters of the 65th OMBR captured the Russians near Novoprokopivka, an occupied village south of Robatny, which was liberated in the summer. The video shows how 3 Ukrainian soldiers approached the enemy trenches and opened fire on them with machine guns. Then 2 occupants of the break room came out with their hands raised and lay down on the ground. After that, the 3rd interventionist opened fire from the dugout and was destroyed. Meanwhile, according to the British Ministry of Defense, the Kremlin's decision to attack Avdiivka resulted in a 90% increase in Russian losses on a 600-mile front. But Russian forces may suffer losses across the front in Ukraine at rates approaching the levels of losses Russia is currently experiencing in generating new forces, concluded the Institute for the Study of War, ACHILLES, in Washington, D.C. According to ACHILLES, the high number of casualties in Russia will likely prevent Russia from fully replenishing and reconstituting existing units in Ukraine and establishing new operations to add to strategic reserves if Russia's force-building efforts continue at the current rate while the Russian military continues to operate. To build up strength for another attempt, the Russians had to succeed in taking Avdiivka or stop trying. Russia has lost 338,120 troops in Ukraine since the start of its full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on December 9. This figure includes 900 casualties suffered by Russian troops in the past day. Russian troops had also attacked 4 communities along the Sumy Oblast border on December 8, opening fire 6 times throughout the day, the Sumy Oblast Military Administration reported. The Russian military targeted various communities with artillery and drone attacks, as well as dropping mines on settlements. The village of Unikivka, home to about 1,700 residents, suffered the heaviest attack, with 7 explosions recorded in the area. The community is located just 7 kilometers west and 9 kilometers south of the Ukrainian-Russian border.